This, as you can very, very well see as the wind blows my beard in all kinds of weird directions and almost takes my hat off, is the brand new, all new generation Nissan Murano. And which makes sense, what I'm about to say is that all week, as I've been around the Murano and driving it here and there, doing my daily stuff, I've been thinking a lot about the Murano. And it brought me to thinking about Nissan and Infiniti. I mean, in the early 90s, right up until the mid 2000s, between Nissan and Infiniti, they could not miss. Every vehicle they released was going to almost inevitably become a benchmark in their respective segments. I mean, just think about the 2001 the Nissan Altima, or that same year or generation Nissan Maxima, and the Maxima before that, or even the Altima before that, which was slightly a little bit more boring, but more reliable, more bulletproof than a Camry from that same generation. Nissan was on fire. And when the first images and the first videos way back at the time and stuff that I read about the all-new revolutionary Murano in 2002 for the 2003 model year started circulating, I was excited. The Murano looked like nothing else, featured an incredible V6 engine that I had sampled in the Pathfinder and the Altima and other Nissan products, and I was just blown away. When I saw the vehicle finally at the auto show, there was something about the trunk and the styling, and it was exciting. And I loved driving it. Oh, I remember my first drives. I have an image, but it doesn't matter. But then something happened, and I can't quite put my finger on it. But by the second generation in 2009 and the following generation in 2014 or 2015, the Murano kind of disappeared, at least in my mind, as an exciting vehicle. Every new generation of whatnot in the midsize SUVs, be it the pre-2006, I think, Ford Explorer, the Grand Cherokee at the time, and another number of other offerings, even from the Japanese automakers, the Murano kind of lost its way. And it really, the more, again, I do think on occasion that there's kind of a correlation between what happened to me, I'll specify that, to me, with the Murano and where the Nissan brand went, and where the Infiniti brand went. But I'm here to report that this all-new fourth generation Nissan Murano finally kind of makes sense. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of a tiny story in here. I have a good friend whose father-in-law had been shopping for an SUV, and eventually, I think in 2018 or 2019, bought a third generation Nissan Murano. And he kept it for 6 years, 7 years, whatnot. Would drive down to Florida. He really enjoyed it. It was the most comfortable, most luxurious, most satisfying vehicle he ever owned. And well, from that, he stepped into a CX-70, which is kind of they're in the same segment. And he's attempting to convince himself every day that it's as good or as comfortable as the Murano it replaced. So if I take all this, put it into context, shove it down my throat, the all-new Murano really makes sense, has its place. This is like my aha moment, and very similar to the one I had with the Outlander PHEV only a few weeks ago. And funnily enough, there's a lot of things that I can kind of find, similarities between the Murano and the Outlander, but I won't do that. But what I will do in the following video is talk more about the new Murano and the styling, whether or not I like it or not. And we'll talk about pricing, which is surprisingly reasonable for what you do get. And then we're going to take it for a drive. And that's where it kind of gets, well, spicy is really not the right word, but there's a contrast between the desire, the expectation, and the reality. Anyway, I'll do my best to explain all that. So if you're still there, thank you so much for giving me your time and spending time on Motor Illustrated's YouTube channel. And so here we go, walk around and drive. So as we do our first laps, let's talk about pricing. In the US, base price is $40,470. I'll tell you right now, you can get front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive in the US. It's all-wheel drive only in Canada, makes total sense. The top trim is the Platinum. It's $49,600. In Canada, the base trim, the SV, is $46,848, which is a lot of money, but it's not. Because you get twin 12.3-inch displays, IP and touchscreen display, 20-inch wheels, power hatch, LEDs, all included. At the very other end of the spectrum is my tester, the Platinum, which in Canada retails for, might sound strange, but only $54,498. It's come to that, my friends, where almost $55,000 is prefaced by only. The extra stuff you get in the Platinum includes a semi-aniline leather, 21-inch wheels, which I suppose we can show them off right now. I like and I don't like, so we'll leave it at that because otherwise it's not really important. Heads-up display, cooled and massaging front seats. It makes sense. The SL in the middle is $50,498, and with the exception of the massaging seats, which are actually not that bad, I think the SL is still the best deal. I mean, you do get the moonroof, you get Google built in, and a Bose audio. I suppose a few words in styling. My first impression, and that's what kind of ruined it for me, is that it looks like I once called the current generation Escape an egg, and it very much looks like an egg. Right, the way it's kind of, I don't know, it's very, very round. It's kind of like the 90s are coming back where everything was aerodynamic and flush. Remember that? Or maybe it's just me, I don't know. I did a lot of things in the 90s that I don't remember or want to speak about, but that's neither here nor there. And the front end isn't bad, but it's the same situation. I mean, I do love the very, very slim headlights. They're very cool. The front end is okay. I don't know. Oh, well, yeah, while we're here at the front, the new Murano, the fourth generation Murano, is 2.6 inches wider than the previous model, and within 1/10 of an inch, exactly the same length. So, I mean, it looks the same, but it still has a lot more visual beef to it, and that's a good thing. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so it's attractive, I guess. It's not exciting, but then I think that's what I have to get used to, is that the Murano is not exciting. Was meant to be at one time, but that's not the case anymore. Let's do the tour. So that's how you open up the hatch. 932 liters of boot space, which is very generous. There is some kind of space under here. Now my bag's gonna get stuck. Didn't think of that. But accessible, lift over height is very low, and the opening at the bottom is very wide. This is perfect. I'm almost convinced, well, you can stick probably 4 golf bags across, which might be a metric that is important to you. And space carries on throughout the vehicle. And the second row is extraordinarily spacious. Okay, well, the seat maybe is a little too far back, but the point is, I mean, you got the flat floor. There's a lot of travel space, and even between the 2 seats, you could almost fit. I mean, I can squeeze my bones between the 2 seats. It is possible, but you know, maybe not for a long journey. But this gives you an idea. You know, the extra a little over 2.5 inches across in width, and now you're starting to get also here an idea of where Nissan has been putting a lot of their efforts, at least in this generation and the previous one, which is what reminded me with the link with the Outlander, is that there's a lot going on. They want to sell you the idea that this is very premium. And for the most part, I believe it. I'll buy it. I mean, I'm not entirely sure of the different colors, but it's classy. It's nice. Same with the, I don't know what you want to call this. It's just plastic that's kind of just painted. It's nice, the black plastic at the bottom. The way it all comes together, I'm okay with that. And you can see how the upper portion of this beige leather kind of wraps all the way around. And it's neat. Let's just say that, neat. The seats are superbly comfortable. The zero gravity seats, if I'm not mistaken, and there's a massaging button, which, if I'm not mistaken, is very, very similar to that found in the Outlander. But anyway, power lumbar adjustments. I mean, you don't sit on it, you sit in the seat, which is really, really nice. And the massaging function compared to the one in the Outlander is far more, well, it makes a lot more sense because it actually does massage. Okay, so let's step on board. There's your twin 12.3-inch screen. The graphics are very nice. It's still very Nissan font-like, but everything really looks great. The interface is, yes, that's fine. The interface is lovely. The good news is HVAC controls. Okay, so they're not actual hard buttons, but compared to the Aria, if I'm not mistaken, they're down here, a little bit more difficult to access. Whereas here, it's a little bit more of a conventional positioning for the HVAC control. So I'll give, a thumbs up, one thumb up for that. Here's just another shot of the materials and how they come together. To the looks, it's fantastic. All right, drive modes, I'll just show that to you here. Is it gonna work? No, do I have to be in drive? This is very anticlimactic, I'm going to admit. Oh, there you go, they're down here also. Usually they show up in the middle. So standard, sport, eco, and all of the above. Go back into park. Storage, decent, really can't complain. Nothing special going on here. Door bins are nice. And one of my favorite parts, so you can see the Bose audio right over here, is the visibility. So in this case, the phone is about 2.5 inches away from my chin. And look at how much visibility you have there. And the base of the A-pillar is very thin. And, eye height, it's very nice. And muscles the drive, let's just say, and let's go. So here's something fun. I have been struggling with the touch screen for the last 10 minutes. The whole series of buttons, like the fixed locked out buttons, such as the home and nav and the radio and HVAC, are frozen, unresponsive. None of them are working. I've restarted, stepped out, got back in. Everything I can think of to do a simple reboot. Nothing. I love reviewing cars for that. And anyway, I also wanted to point out the fact that this is just a bridge here where the transmission buttons are, and there's also storage under there. But anyhow, that's kind of become irrelevant. All right, so D. Of the big changes brought forth to the new Murano, well, the major one is the now gone and deceased VQ 3.5 liter V6, which produced a rather healthy 260 horsepower and 240 pound-feet of torque. And it was mated to a, how do you put it nicely? A Woad Xtronic CVT transmission. So all of that has been thrown out, and now you have a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. This is Nissan's VCT technology, variable compression turbo, which puts out 241 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. So you traded 20 horsepower for 20 pound-feet of torque, give or take, plus the torque, 260 pound-feet of it in with the turbo, comes in at exactly the same engine speed, 4,400 RPM, as it did in the V6. Just so you know, weight-wise, this new Murano weighs about 200 pounds more than the Oldsmobile Aurora. I do these things. Weighs about 200 pounds more. So even though there's more torque, a little bit less horsepower, but a 9-speed automatic transmission, doesn't feel any faster. Doesn't sound terrible either, the 4-cylinder engine. I'll give it 2 more thumbs up for the effort as far as making it sound good. It's very muffled, and I suppose that kind of again hints at the fact that this is not the exciting SUV that I once thought it was and long claimed it to be, at least in my mind. That's all changed now. But what remains true and that's with the current generation and the previous generation. At the very least, the previous generation. The Murano is not. No, the Murano is, let's be positive, very refined. Its main reason for existing is comfort. It's cool, collected motoring, and now with the massaging seats and the cooled seats on, because I have at least the seats, well, they were already on because I can't access them because the screen is completely unresponsive. But this would be, with 2 kids and your partner, you drive down to, well, maybe not Florida. Let's just say you drive up to Winnipeg because you got nothing else better to do, or Saskatoon or Edmonton, I don't know. This would be one of those vehicles that would definitely fit the bill because of the overall serenity provided by Powertrain, thanks to the sound deadening and the ride quality, multi-link rear setup, typical McPherson up front, and I'm on the 21s, which are specific to the Platinum. And so far, I mean, I've had no complaints. Nothing has turned me off completely, with one exception. And this is what I was trying to explain, like the expectations, the desires, the reality, and all of that earlier on, is that, again, this is not sporty. Even in the sport drive mode, putting the hammer down and trying to get to evoke a kick down out of the transmission is laborious. It's long. It's terrible. Like, literally, the engine speeds go up. It's like they programmed the 9-speed to behave like a CVT. The engines go up, and it's kind of weird, but it doesn't drone like the last Xtronic didn't really drone, but this is far more satisfying, just in normal driving, and it's practically seamless. Overall, the drive experience is quite nice. Nothing to say about the steering, positive or negative, which is positive, in fact. Brake pedal feels really nice. Travel is limited. And the only other bug, I suppose, is fuel consumption. You'd suspect that, you take out the V6, put in the 4-cylinder, and get an improvement fuel consumption-wise. RNCAN and Nissan Canada estimate returned average of 9.7 liters per 100 kilometers. The V6, I think, was like 10.2, or 10.1 even. So the reality is that they're almost identical as far as fuel consumption is concerned. My bug is that I'm averaging just shy of 13 liters per 100 kilometers, or right around there. So my driving has been, in fact, mostly mixed, highway and city. So that is a little bit disappointing. And this is not entirely new. It's got over 4,033 kilometers on the clock, so it's broken in. So as far as that's concerned, it shouldn't be an issue whatsoever. As such, the competition, I said CX-70 before, Jeep Grand Cherokee kind of, but it's far, far more expensive. Sorento, Santa Fe. There are a number of mid-size SUVs that directly take the new Murano head on. What the Murano has going for it is that it has no sporty pretensions, has a very, very decent powertrain. It's extremely comfortable, quiet, and refined, more so than almost all others. Atlas Crossport, for example. And there's a lot of value. Normally, you would associate value to, say, the Kias or the Hyundais, but this makes a lot of sense. Passport 2 would be a competitor, kind of, in the segment. But despite my newfound appreciation for this SUV, still wouldn't be my choice. The fact that there's no electrified alternative, could be an issue for a number of people. Enter the Santa Fe hybrid, which I truly enjoyed. I don't know. I guess I can end it on that note. It's lovely. It's wow. I'm impressed, and it will satisfy those who understand what the Murano was in the third generation. Those like me who expected something a little bit more exciting, well, it's not the case. But it's overall very nice. Okay, I'm done.